dorsal, we have the dorsal shoulder. We have two big muscles, this big triangular trapezius muscle here, and then the deltoids that run over the shoulder. So in the cat, because they're on all fours, the trapezius group is subdivided up into three muscles. This one is not dissected out well, but it's right up here. This is called the clavotrapezius. It's right underneath that skin, and I'll remove that later. So the clavotrapezius, this is the acromiotrapezius, and you can see it here undissected. And this is the spinotrapezius, also undissected on the side. Clavotrapezius, acromiotrapezius, and spinotrapezius. Then on the shoulder, it's the same thing. We have the clavodeltoid, the acromiodeltoid, right here, and the spinodeltoid. So clavodeltoid, acromiodeltoid, and spinodeltoid. Then between the two deltoids, the acromiotrapezius and the clavotrapezius, we've got the levator scapula ventralis. Levator scapula ventralis. It's this kind of ribbon right between those two muscles. Okay. Then right here, this big muscle is the latissimus dorsi. It's huge, right? So latissimus dorsi on either side, and this muscle is the longissimus dorsi. So latissimus dorsi, this whole thing, longissimus dorsi runs all the way up underneath those muscles up the back. Okay? Now I'm going to go deep. So if I'm going to look underneath here, I'm just going to reflect the spinotrapezius. I'm going to reflect the latissimus dorsi. And then back underneath here, you can see under the arm this big spray of muscles. It looks like a wagon wheel. That's going to be the serratus ventralis. The serratus ventralis is this wagon wheel. It's right there. Then also, right here, between the ribs are your intercostal muscles. Intercostals, between the ribs. There's an outer layer right here, the external intercostals, and then I just removed a little piece of fascia, and there's the internal intercostals. So the internal intercostals are deep. You have to kind of remove a little piece of the externals to see them. Okay, so external intercostals on the outside, internal intercostals deep. Also, well, I've got the arm up here. This is the scapula. This whole thing is the scapula. So this big muscle that's running right up underneath this arm, this is called the teres major. The teres major, from here to here. Then right here and here, those are the supra and infraspinatus muscles. So if I remove this, the spine of the scapula is right here. So this whole muscle is the supraspinatus muscle, and it's in that supraspinous fossa. And this down here is the infraspinatus muscle, also in the infraspinatus fossa. Okay, so teres major, infraspinatus muscle, and supraspinatus muscle. Okay. Now, once again, you have to reflect this acromiotrapezius and move it out of the way to see that supraspinatus. Then the other big muscle that you'll see that's here that is deep, this is the teres major once again, and then see it ends, and then there's another muscle that whips up around the back of the scapula, and that is the teres major. The teres major. The rhomboideus major. Sorry, so this is the teres major and rhomboideus major. Now I'm going to just move the arm a little bit so we can see underneath the scapula, so I'm just doing this and reflecting that back. So check that out. So there's that rhomboideus major, and it goes straight up. So this is the rhomboideus major. Then this little spray of muscles next to it that goes to the angle, that's the rhomboideus minor. And then this little bitty ribbon right here is the rhomboideus capitis. So rhomboideus major, rhomboideus minor, rhomboideus capitis. The next one, if you look right here, under the scapula, so this is the front of the scapula, this is under the scapula. So this whole muscle right here is the subscapularis muscle. Subscapularis. Right here, this muscle, it's between the rhomboideus capitis and the subscapularis. It's just kind of hanging there in the middle. That is actually the serratus ventralis. It's this same muscle. See that? And I'm going to go back around here. See that big muscle that has the wagon wheels? It goes up under the scapula, and you can see it from this angle. So you're looking at that wagon wheel muscle right there. Okay? And then the last one that you can see in the deep shoulder, you move the serratus ventralis back against the subscapularis, and then you kind of look right in here. This muscle right here is actually next to the vertebral column. It runs up and down that vertebral column. That is called the splenius muscle. So there's the splenius muscle right there. So it's right on the vertebral column. Okay? All right, that'll be shoulder. Okay, so this is going to be the dorsal, upper, and lower arm. So if you look here, this is going to be the the clavodeltoid, excuse me, the brachialis muscle. The brachialis goes into the brachioradialis on the forearm. This is your triceps group. This big muscle on the side is the triceps brachii lateral head. In the back, triceps brachii long head, and you reflect the lateral head underneath, and you'll be able to see the triceps brachii medial head, which is the deep muscle. Then if you go down into the forearm, the muscles on the back of the arm, the dorsal side are extensors. So if you start here, this is the brachioradialis, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4 muscles. The first one next to the brachioradialis is the extensor carpi radialis. If you go over to the fourth one, extensor carpi ulnaris. The two in the middle extend the digits or the fingers, so these are extensor digitorum communis and extensor digitorum lateralis. So if you're going 1 through 4, it would be extensor, or it would be brachioradialis here, extensor carpi radialis, extensor digitorum communis, extensor digitorum lateralis, extensor carpi ulnaris. And that's all for the forearm. All right, so the muscles of the neck, you have 2 that form a V starting at the sternum and go up to the mastoid process. The superficial one is called the sternomastoid, and this is it going here and here, but it's been kind of cut. But this would be the sternomastoid. Right up underneath it is the cleidomastoid, goes from the clavicle to the mastoid process. Then this ribbon, these transverse, or rather these rectus fibers that go up and down the neck, it's going to be the sternohyoid. So all of this is sternohyoid. Then forming this kind of triangle at the chin is the mylohyoid, and the fibers are going transversely across here. So sternohyoid and mylohyoid. Then this V-shaped muscle right along the base of the mandible is the digastric. And then the very large circular muscle right underneath the ear that forms the cheek is the masseter muscle, not to be confused with the parotid gland here or the submandibular gland here. Okay? Okay, on the back we've got the longissimus dorsi here. There's the latissimus dorsi. All of this is external oblique, which is the stomach muscle that goes around and cuts in front and attaches at the linea alba. So this is the gluteal group. You have the superior one is the gluteus medius, and the next one is the gluteus maximus. The medius is slightly larger in the cat than it is in us. So gluteus medius, gluteus maximus, and this little ribbon muscle is called the caudofemoralis, and it wags the tail here. Then if you look up in the front, we have this, you can see a piece of a muscle that runs right here. It is part of this sartorius muscle right here. So here's the sartorius, and you can see part of the sartorius right here. Then this triangular muscle forming right at the hip is the tensor fascia latae muscle. And then the piece of connective tissue here is the fascia latae, and I cut a little piece of it away so that you can see this muscle underneath. So tensor fascia latae muscle. The connective tissue here is the fascia latae. The muscle underneath that piece of fascia is called the vastus lateralis. You can also see that on the front of on the ventral surface that forms the lateral hot dog bun, which you'll see when you look at the ventral viewing. Then this very, very large muscle back here that forms part of the hamstring group is the biceps femoris. And then right behind that is the semitendinosus. So biceps femoris and semitendinosus. Then the muscles of the lower leg, there are 5 of them. It starts right here at the tibia, so there's the tibia. So you count 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Number 1 is the tibialis anterior. Number 2 is the extensor digitorum longus because it extends the digits or the toes. The number 3 is the peroneus. Number 4 is the soleus, and number 5 is the gastrocnemius. And then you can also see the Achilles tendon right here. Okay?